Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Sub-Lieutenant Fox Cassidy. We warmly welcome the family of Private Thomas Graeme Hendry, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome one recruit training unit from the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Wagga Wagga. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Service Clubs Association, and we welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of North Cottesloe Primary School from Cottesloe, Western Australia. Now, if you're able, I please invite you to stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you, students. Please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read just one of the stories behind those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Thomas Graeme Hendry. Commonly known as Graeme, Thomas Hendry was born on the 15th of January 1918, the son of Pearl Margaret Smith. According to family legend, Graeme was born in New Guinea. His mother brought him to Australia suffering from a tropical disease, leaving him in hospital in Sydney. His grandmother travelled from the family farm outside of Geelong to collect Graeme, who she raised as her own son until about the age of 7. Graeme went on to work as a printer's mechanist, working for the Bridgetown Advocate in the southwest of Western Australia. Hendry enlisted in the militia in March 1939, parading part-time with a squadron of the 25th Light Horse Regiment. With the coming of war, he discharged from the militia in order to enlist in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force, doing so on the 7th of November 1939. Allocated to the 2nd 11th Battalion, the 1st Western Australian Battalion raised for service overseas at the end of the month, Private Hendry embarked from Fremantle, headed for Eastern Command. Arriving in Sydney, Hendry continued on to Ingleburn Army Camp, where he was transferred to the 2nd 1st Machine Gun Battalion. On the 1st of March, he was found absent without leave and confined to barracks for 4 days as punishment. After pre-embarkation leave, on the 20th of April 1940, Private Hendry embarked for overseas service. Arriving at the city of Kantara on the Suez Canal in mid-May, in June, he transferred back to the 2nd 11th Battalion while at camp in Palestine. In August, he was briefly hospitalised, suffering from sandfly fever, and in December with tinea. He was transferred to a training battalion, joining his new unit at Palestine in early January. In late January, he was evacuated to a New Zealand hospital in Egypt, suffering from bronchitis. Having transferred to an Australian hospital in February, he returned to his unit before transferring to a staging camp in April, where he and the 2nd 11th Battalion prepared to deploy to assist in the defence of Greece. During this brief campaign, Allied forces were unable to stop the German drive southwards in overwhelming numbers. The 2nd 11th withdrew from its initial positions at Kalabaka and remained on the move until it occupied rearguard positions at Bralos Pass a week later. Having continued a fighting withdrawal, the battalion was evacuated by sea from Megara on the night of the 25th of April. Private Hendry was declared missing in late April, but was soon confirmed as having been killed in action. He had been among those evacuated by the Dutch troop ship Slamat from the Bay of Naupliya on the Peloponnesian coast, which, escorted by the Royal Navy destroyers HMS Diamond and Rheineck, was attacked off the east coast of the Peloponnese. 3 Messerschmitt fighters attacked first, followed by 9 Junker dive bombers. The attackers targeted the troop ships, and anti-aircraft fire from Diamond and the light cruiser HMAS Calcutta initially prevented aircraft from hitting Slamat. But a 250-kilo bomb eventually exploded between Slamat's bridge and forward funnel, setting the bridge, control room, and master's cabin afire. Her water system disabled, hampering her crew's ability to fight the fire. Another bomb hit the ship and she listed to starboard. Slamat's master gave the order to abandon ship. The bombing and fire had destroyed some of her lifeboats and life rafts, but the remaining lifeboats and rafts were launched under a second Stuka attack. Calcutta rescued survivors and ordered the destroyer Diamond to go alongside Slamat to rescue more, which she did, still under air attack. The destroyers HMAS Vendetta, HMAS Waterhen, and HMS Rheineck arrived to reinforce the convoy, and Rheineck was sent to assist in the rescue. Diamond reported that she had rescued most of the survivors and was proceeding to Suda Bay, but was forced to leave several people behind on life rafts where they were machine-gunned by aircraft. Of the 500 or so soldiers that Slamat embarked, only 8 survived. Among the dead was Private Thomas Hendry, who was 23 years old. The bodies of 3 of Slamat's crew eventually washed ashore far from the wreck, on the Greek island of Stamperia, at Alexandria in Egypt, and at Gaza in Palestine. Thomas Hendry's remains, however, were never recovered. With no grave but the sea, today he is commemorated at the Alamein Memorial in Egypt, alongside more than 8,500 Commonwealth soldiers who have known no grave. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Thomas Graeme Hendry, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We'll leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.